හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Monday, the 1st of April 2024. External debt. Debt resolutions with external creditors expected to conclude within the second quarter. No changes in IMF program even if government's change, assures State Minister of Finance.
Able to hopefully give a good news before we conclude the second quarter.
Parliament today. Parliament heats up with former President Maithripala Sirisena's comments on the Easter Sunday attack. Justice Minister Wijetasa Rajapaksa withdraws the bill to amend penal code provisions. Health strike. Daily operations at 5 major hospitals disrupted as health workers go on strike over the DAT allowance. Committee probe. President Ranil Wickremesinghe appoints an independent remuneration committee based on Finance Committee recommendations to probe the central bank's salary hike. And Gaza Fund. Sri Lanka donates $1 million to assist children impacted by conflict in the Gaza Strip.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9 with Ndivari Amuata and Mahish Johnny. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening, everyone. 1st of April it is. Welcome to First at 9. A very good evening indeed.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining us this Monday. We're back here with the very latest from across Sri Lanka and around the world. Again, a number of stories to report tonight, but what takes center stage is probably the discussion about the vessel that crashed in Baltimore. It was found to have been carrying toxic waste from the United States to Sri Lanka at the time of the crash. So interesting developments there.
Dumping ground, Sri Lanka it is, or what exactly is the premise here? A lot of questions that needs answers, and I hope the government will get into finding answers to this particular question, because I don't know whether you remember a couple of years back we found out that certain bio waste was brought into Sri Lanka from the UK,
and some
officials
clinical waste too.
Exactly, and officials had to take action to send it back to the UK and not accept that. So are we looking at another scenario of that? That's a big question mark that needs a lot of answers, because
and somehow we need to have strict controls where we prevent the waste from west being dumped into places like ours, small island nations, which already are threatened by climate change and other global phenomena.
And not only literal waste, but apparently, virtual waste too, because mind-wise, there are lots of questions. But anyway, that's another topic to discuss. But then again, fuel prices went down. People are actually not that happy because of the simple fact that the ones that the common man uses has not gone down, and there are conversations around that as well. And in terms of international stories, will the United States would you like a glass of water?
I think I do. I'm so sorry.
We'll actually get that to Indivari, and for the moment, let's begin our bulletin tonight. Well, State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinghe, joining a media briefing today, says that the government plans to finalize debt agreements with its foreign creditors by the end of the second quarter of this year. Now, he said that upon completion of the third tranche of the IMF external fund, fund facility is expected to be released in June. Now, calling out the opposition's allegations regarding the current IMF program, the minister said that the opposition will not be able to change the current program even if they assume power, and if the program changes under that government, the country would come to a standstill within 4 weeks.
It has been proven that the leadership provided by President Ranil Wickremesinghe is the best and most skillful leadership to revive the country from the current economic crisis. We will need this leadership as a country going forward. We successfully concluded the second IMF review 2 weeks ago. Following the conclusion, we have reached a staff-level agreement which is crucial in acquiring the third tranche of the IMF EFF program by around June of this year.
Could you give us an idea what is happening with the debt talks with the bondholders in London, and also is there a timeline with MOU and also the agreement with China Exim Bank?
I cannot exactly indicate a timeline, but we want to finalize the debt resolution within the second quarter, and it is very important for Sri Lanka to finalize the debt resolution, because for our case to be presented to the board, completion of the debt resolution is very important. Already with certain creditors we have reached agreements in principle. Now we are in the process of converting that or translating that into the MOUs. The discussions with the private bondholders as well as with commercial creditors and also with the bilateral creditors to finalize the resolutions are going on, as you know. The advisors are engaging positively, the authorities are engaging. So let us see, we'll be able to hopefully give a good news before we conclude the second quarter.
You see uncertainty because of the elections, because
do you think there will be election by June?
The
President has not announced that the elections are going to be in June. There is no political uncertainty in the country. I know the opposition wants to create a perception among the creditors that there is political uncertainty in the country. Can you tell me a single reason why we should give the message that there is political uncertainty in the country? The opposition has no view on the economy. Unfortunately, I have to say that. Because you can have your own explanations, but that explanation or the way forward has to be accepted by the rest of the world. How they propose and what they propose, I think, has become immaterial and irrelevant at the moment because it doesn't fit into this reform agenda, and they are talking of a change to the reform agenda, which there is no way for a change in the reform agenda. So moment we stabilize, moment we strengthen, enhance growth, then only we can further negotiate on what are the future changes that we should go into. Until such time, however much the opposition say that if they come into power that they will look at a change in the IMF program, there is absolutely no way of changing the IMF program. If they try to change, the country will not have a future for over 4 weeks.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations. Dulux.
We managed to get in the sustenance she needs. She was having a cough fit, but you're okay?
Yeah, very, very, very well. Thank you.
All right, let's begin. Let's continue with our bulletin. Well, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, has appointed an independent remuneration committee based on the recommendations of the Committee on Public Finance to probe the recent salary increments of the central bank.
Now, the 7-member committee, comprising members from both within and outside the central bank, is expected to submit a report on the matter within 4 weeks.
The recent salary increments made by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka towards its employees came under heavy backlash from parliamentarians representing both the opposition and the government. As such, CBSL officials were summoned to the parliament for a party leaders meeting as well as to the Committee on Public Finance and were inquired on the process and rationale behind the recent salary increase conferred to its employees. Following the discussions, the Public Finance Committee Chairman MP Dr. Harsha De Silva announced a set of recommendations that were prepared by the committee to address the salary increase, which includes appointing an independent body to probe the matter and also recommended postponing the salary increments. In response, the President, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, appointed the 7-member independent remuneration committee today. According to a statement by the President's media division, the board members include Dinesh Stephen Veerakkodi, Arjuna Herath, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, Sudharma Karunaratne, Anthony Nihal Fonseca, Anushka S. Vijayasinghe and Duminda Hulangamuwa. The committee is tasked with assessing the reasonableness of the salary increase and to submit a report within 4 weeks' time. Further, the committee is also tasked with formulating a transparent formula for future revisions of CBSL staff remuneration. The CBS cell has deferred the salary increase until a mutually acceptable solution is arrived at based on the findings of the report.
Well, the Sri Lankan government today donated $1 million to assist children impacted by the conflict in the Gaza Strip due to the Israel-Palestine war. The donation was formally handed over to the government of Palestine through the United Nations official channel overseen by President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. President Wickremesinghe presented the donation check to the Palestinian ambassador in Sri Lanka, Zuhair M.H. Zahid. Further, in response to the president's call to support the Children of Gaza Fund, over 20 million rupees has been contributed to the fund. The money is scheduled to be formally transferred to the Palestinian government in the coming days. Donors are encouraged to participate in these initiatives before the 30th of April deadline this month.
Well, the Health Trade Union Alliance today instituted a 4-hour token strike at 5 major state hospitals over their unfulfilled demand to be granted the disturbance availability and transport allowance, which has only been extended to the doctors. Following unsatisfactory discussions with the Minister of Health, the Alliance announced that they will be continuing the strike tomorrow, targeting 10 state hospitals across the island as well.
Prior to today's token strike, 72 health trade unions launched combined strikes on 3 separate occasions, demanding that the disturbance, availability and transport allowance granted to doctors also be extended to the members of the unions. The strikes were temporarily called off on the 18th of March, and the Secretary of the Ministry of Health was granted 10 days to present a satisfactory solution. As the Ministry of Health failed to respond before the deadline, a token strike once again commenced at 6:30 a.m. this morning at 5 major national hospitals in Kandy, Kurunegala, Anuradhapura, Ratnapura and Badulla, where major inconvenience was caused to patients. The strike continued for 4 hours whilst protests were launched in front of the hospital premises.
President's office has extended an invitation for a discussion this afternoon to discuss this issue. We would like to remind the government that we are willing to resolve this issue without resorting to a strike.
Health Minister Dr. Ramesh Pathurana met with union representatives, wherein an agreement was reached to continue the discussions tomorrow at the Ministry of Finance. Despite the agreement, the unions proceeded to launch yet another protest outside the Ministry of Health premises. However, the Government Medical Officers Association were of the view that the alliance's actions were politically motivated.
Some health union officials are exacerbating this issue in order to further their own agendas. What these groups are doing is fulfilling a political agenda. The daily operations of these hospitals have not been affected by this action.
Meanwhile, during a press conference earlier this afternoon, the Health Trade Unions Alliance announced that it will continue the token strike tomorrow, this time targeting 10 national hospitals, including the National Hospital, Colombo.
Parliament today heated up as both government and opposition MPs expressed their views over the controversial statement made by former President Maithripala Sirisena on his knowledge of the mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attacks.
While opposition leader Sajith Premadasa alleged that the government is trying to conceal the truth from the public, leader of the House, Dr. Susil Premachandra, held firm stance that the then cabinet comprising Premadasa failed to prevent the attacks when there was a possibility of doing so.
Meanwhile, Minister of Justice Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa announced in Parliament that the bill to amend the Penal Code has been withdrawn and added that he is looking forward to presenting a bill which was agreeable to all.
The former president has made a clear statement. We would like to urge him to reveal the truth about who the mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attacks is. We would like to know why he is reluctant to reveal the details of those who are involved in the attack. It was Easter Sunday yesterday. I request from the Speaker of Parliament that I receive a response to my query immediately.
The CID recorded a statement from former President Maithripala Sirisena over the recent statement he made. It was also reported by the media that he was ordered to present facts before the magistrates' court and will be summoned again by the Attorney General. This case is now before the judiciary.
I believe that this government is trying to conceal the truth from the people. There have to be answers to these questions.
All of you, including the opposition leader, were members of the cabinet when the attack took place. We were not cabinet members. All of you could have taken steps to prevent this attack. Without taking such measures, all of you are now presenting queries to us.
It is a parliamentarian representing this parliament who said that he knows who the mastermind is. I request that the Speaker of Parliament summon him and request that he reveal this. Without quoting others, it is important to make such a statement with responsibility. What we feel is that there is a political motive behind the execution of this attack. Someone is trying to achieve a political motive by failing to reveal who executed this attack.
Recently, former President Maithripala Sirisena made a controversial statement. When everyone blamed Maithripala Sirisena, I was of the view that there could be a hidden aim. He says that India is involved in this. If so, who supported India in executing this? Then, who is the mastermind? That is our question. Prior to the appointment of Ranil Wickremesinghe as president, he said that the investigations into this attack would be handed over to the Scotland Yard police. However, it was not handed over. Not only him, but Harin Fernando, who joined the government from our side later, said the same. However, nothing happened. Why is the government delaying the task of uncovering the mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attack? It is because Ranil Wickremesinghe may have to arrest some of those in the parliament who supported his appointment as president.
Per subject number 13 of the order paper, I would like to inform all of you that the Penal Code Amendment Bill will be withdrawn.
We are thankful for the opposition leader who made a great effort to ensure that this bill is withdrawn from Parliament.
We received cases of rape on 14-year-old girls. Most of the accused in these cases are boys between the ages of 16 and 22. By the time 99% of these cases are heard at the High Courts, all of them have reached adolescence, meaning they have reached 18 and are legally permitted to get married. By that time, some of them are already married and have children, and some are planning to get married. Since this punishment is mandatory, the male has to serve a 10-year sentence in prison. Once he serves his sentence in jail, both the lives of the girl and him are ruined. This is a practical issue. Taking this situation into account, the Supreme Court has delivered verdicts pertaining to 3 cases with relaxed terms of punishment in order to save 2 innocent lives. However, the law referred to by the judiciary is different from what is in the books of law. Both of them should run parallel, else it leads to more issues. We withdrew this bill, and if there's any amendment that everyone agrees with, we will present it.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Lanka IOC and Sinopec Energy revised the prices of their petroleum products with effect from midnight yesterday. Following the latest price revision, 95-octane petrol, super diesel and kerosene all saw reductions, while the prices of auto diesel and 92-octane petrol continued to remain unchanged this month. Despite the fuel price reduction which came into effect, the public transportation unions have decided to keep existing fares unchanged.
State fuel supplier Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announced the revision of its fuel prices, which came into effect from midnight yesterday. As a result, 95-octane petrol saw a reduction of 7 rupees and currently stands at 440 rupees per litre. The prices of super diesel and kerosene were reduced by 72 rupees and 12 rupees respectively. According to the latest fuel price revision, the new price of a litre of super diesel is 386 rupees, while a litre of kerosene stands at 245 rupees. However, the prices of 92-octane petrol and auto diesel remain unchanged. Following the fuel price revision of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Lanka IOC and Sinopec too revised their fuel prices in line with the CPC. Chinese petroleum company Sinopec announced that all types of fuel distributed by them will be sold at 3 rupees less than the prices of CPC and Lanka IOC. Meanwhile, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation revealed that, per the pricing formula, the maximum profit margin that can be maintained for each fuel type is 4%. However, this 4% margin was not applied to neither 92-octane petrol nor auto diesel. The CPC further added that if the 4% profit margin was calculated, the prices of both 92-octane petrol and auto diesel would have increased. Commenting on the fuel price revision, the private bus union said that despite the decrease in fuel prices, bus fares will not be reduced.
We were planning to pass on a benefit to the public in view of the New Year holidays by reducing bus fare by a substantial amount. However, at this point we are unable to do so, and the subject minister should bear the responsibility of this inability. The country's situation is such that super diesel could be reduced but auto diesel could not be reduced.
It is impossible to reduce the bus fares even if the auto diesel prices were reduced by 50 rupees. Super diesel prices have been reduced and it is an eco-friendly move.
Rail drivers meanwhile confirmed that their fare prices would also remain unchanged.
Although users of 92-octane petrol and auto diesel expected a benefit from the fuel price revision, such a benefit was not provided to us. The government has not intervened in this matter. Prices of 92-octane petrol and auto diesel have not reduced at all. The respective entities have reduced certain prices only and we are acting accordingly.
Well, on the topic of price revisions, Litrogas Lanka and Laf Gas PLC announced a reduction to the prices of their domestic gas cylinders with effect from midnight tonight. Addressing a media briefing today, Chairman of Litrogas, Mudita Piris, added that gas prices were reduced as a result of the benefit received due to the rupee appreciation and highlighted that further price reductions can be anticipated in the months of May and June later this year.
Sri Lanka's state-run domestic gas supplier Litrogas Lanka announced its latest price revision with effect from midnight tonight. According to the price revision, a 12.5 kilogram cylinder of gas will be reduced by 135 rupees and the new retail price will be 4,115 rupees. Meanwhile, the 5 kilogram cylinder of gas will be slashed by 55 rupees to 1,652 rupees, while the new price of a 2.3 kilogram cylinder of gas will be priced at 772 rupees, following the price reduction of 23 rupees from midnight tonight. Speaking at a media briefing today, the Litro chairman added that more gas price reductions can be expected in the future.
As a company, we aim to pass down this benefit received due to the appreciating rupee to the general public in light of the upcoming New Year season. Despite the losses incurred by the company, we expect to provide this benefit entirely to the public rather than utilizing them for the company. We anticipate further price reductions during the months of May and June this year.
Meanwhile, Laf's Gas PLC has also decided to revise the prices of domestic LP gas cylinders in line with Litrogas Lanka from midnight tonight. Accordingly, the 12.5 kilogram cylinder of gas will stand at 4,115 rupees after a price reduction of 625 rupees. The price of a 5 kilogram cylinder of gas will be reduced by 248 rupees to 1,652 rupees. Meanwhile, Cluster CEO of Laf Gas PLC, Dr. Niroshan J. Piris, said that these substantial gas price reductions materialized due to the strengthening of the company as well as the rupee appreciation.
There are two main reasons as to why we have made this massive reduction. The first reason is because we as a group have many strengths because we have our own storage plant which is based in Hambantota, the largest storage terminals in Sri Lanka as well as in the Asian region that can accommodate up to 30,000 metric tons, and it is up for expansion as well. Further, we have vessels that are carrying the LP gas. And also we have our trading house which is based in Dubai. So taking these three factors as a whole, it has helped us reduce this massive reduction in terms of the price. And also the rupee has appreciated drastically over the past 2 to 3 months as the world CP price has gone down. So taking all of these things into consideration, we have decided to take this massive decrease.
National Freedom Front leader Vimal Veerawansa was acquitted by the Negombo Magistrates Court from a prior case against his alleged use of an invalid passport. Meanwhile, the Colombo District Court issued an interim injunction order against the Sri Lanka Freedom Party's abrupt removal of Ministers Duminda Disanayake, Lasantha Alagiyawanna and Mahinda Amaravira from their respective positions within the party. With that, here's a look at more news across the island in brief.
The Negombo Magistrates Court today acquitted National Freedom Front leader MP Wimal Weerawansa from the case against his alleged use of an inactive passport. Weerawansa was accused of using an invalid passport to travel to Europe in 2015. However, the court found that the parliamentarian's claim that the passport in his possession was one that he had lost and later found after obtaining a new passport had been proven beyond reasonable doubt. In the meantime, the Colombo District Court issued an interim injunction order preventing the Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Executive Committee from removing Ministers Duminda Dissanayake, Lasantha Alagiyawanna and Mahinda Amaravira from their respective positions within the party. The Executive Committee, during a party meeting on the 30th of March, removed Dissanayake from his position as National Organiser, Alagiyawanna as Treasurer and Amaravira as Senior Vice President. In other local news, a fire broke out on the Aranya Island located in the Moragalla area, laying waste to the island's mangrove vegetation. Locals reported that a group of people were observed on the island moments before the fire broke out.
Welcome back. We take you to business news. As the country's tourism sector continues to positively progress, the numbers saw a total of 635,784 visitors to Sri Lanka so far this year, with 209,181 arrivals recorded during March alone.
Now, in an ex-post, Minister of Tourism Harim Fernando added that this is a remarkable turn for both the country's tourism sector and the economy, as the first 3 months of 2024 alone surpassed 200,000 tourist arrivals.
The numbers, meanwhile, have seen a sharp increase this year compared to the previous year, depicting a growth in the country's tourism sector.
Sri Lanka's tourism has been taking a turn for the better since the beginning of 2024, as the island nation welcomed more than 635,000 tourists over the first 3 months of the year. In an ex message, Minister of Tourism Harim Fernando stated that total tourist arrivals as at 31st of March stands at 635,784. He further went on to say that this is a remarkable turn for both the tourism sector of the country and the economy, as the first 3 months of 2024 alone surpassed 200,000 tourist arrivals, so much so that the total number of tourist arrivals recorded for March alone stood at 209,181. Significantly, the month of February also previously recorded a substantial 218,350 tourist arrivals, surpassing the total arrivals in January amounting to 208,253. Meanwhile, as per the latest data issued by the Tourism Development Authority, the highest number of tourist arrivals were recorded during the third week of March, amounting to a total of 47,972 arrivals. Further, the total number of tourist arrivals recorded during the first 3 months alone depicts a significant increase from the corresponding period last year. The highest number of tourists were reported from India, amounting to a total of 28,218. Coming in second was Russia, with a total of 25,112 arrivals. A significant number of tourists were also reported from Germany, United Kingdom, China and France.
Tourism Minister Harim Fernando confirmed that the pilot project of granting visa-free entry to Sri Lanka for visitors from 7 countries will be extended to the 30th of April. Now, the minister further explained that a final decision regarding the matter will be taken over the next few weeks of the pilot project. Now, in a cabinet decision in October last year, visa-free entry for visitors from 7 countries, including India, China, Russia, Malaysia, Japan, Indonesia and Thailand, as a pilot project until March 31st of this year was approved. Earlier, the tourism minister stated that the purpose of the exercise is to attract more tourists to Sri Lanka and added that it is expected to increase tourist arrivals to 5 million over the coming years.
Taking you to the Colombo Stock Exchange, the Bourse closed higher today with market turnover crossing 4.1 billion rupees, chiefly due to several large trades in Ambion Capital PLC. The benchmark all-share price index closed 34.62 points higher at 11,147.9 points, while the S&P SL gained 11.66 to close trading at 3,329. Pronounced interest was visible in the banking sector, with banking shares starting low but seeing a significant recovery later in the day. Sampath Bank PLC experienced selling pressure with shares closing at 77.9 rupees, while Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC closed down at 94.5 rupees. Meanwhile, net foreign inflow was recorded at its highest value for the year.
Up next is senior analyst from Capital Alliance, Amrit Fernando, with a few thoughts to round off our Market in View segment for this week.
Last week, the domestic equity market continued its positive trajectory, with the ASPI rising by over 180 points to 11,444, the highest it's reached since September last year. The S&P SL20 also followed this trend, increasing by over 90 points to settle at 3,317. Despite the shortened trading period of 4 days, total market turnover of last week grew by 2% to 8.6 billion rupees. Following positive macroeconomic data released by the government regarding indicators such as inflation, tourism, PMI, as well as international trade data, we expect the equity market to continue its positive trajectory. Moving on to last week's Treasury bill auction, following the central bank's decision to reduce policy rates by 50 basis points to help stabilize inflation, auction yields fell by 16, 12, and 10 basis points for the 3, 6, and 12-month Treasury bills respectively. Looking ahead, the government aims to raise 135 billion rupees through Wednesday's Treasury bill auction. And on the international front, global equity markets ended the first quarter on a high note, with US stock exchanges such as the S&P 500 recording strong performance, aided by optimism over AI-related stocks and the expectation that the Fed will begin to cut interest rates this year.
And global oil prices stayed static at near 5-month highs as markets expected tighter supply due to OPEC Plus cuts and after attacks on Russian refineries, while Chinese manufacturing data supported a stronger demand outlook. Brent crude was 35 cents lower at $86 and 65 cents a barrel after rising 2.4% last week. US West Texas Intermediate crude was at $82.87 a barrel, down 30 cents following a 3.2% gain last week. Trading volumes were thin as markets in several countries remained closed for the Easter weekend. Both benchmarks posted a third consecutive month of gains in March, with Brent holding above $85 a barrel since the middle of last month. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, a group known as OPEC Plus, has pledged an extended production cut to the end of June, which could tighten crude supply during the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. The Russian Deputy Prime Minister, meanwhile, said that the country's oil companies will focus on reducing oil output as opposed to exports in the second quarter in order to evenly spread production cuts with other OPEC member nations. Concurrently, drone attacks from the Ukraine have knocked out several Russian refineries, which is expected to reduce Russia's fuel exports in the coming months.
Well, the Sri Lanka Maldives Business Council recently hosted an interactive forum with High Commissioner Designate to Sri Lanka and to the Maldives, Ranga Gunawardena, at the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Meanwhile, a commercial bank announced a collaboration with the International Finance Corporation to build a supply chain financing strategy that will enable the bank to lend more to the small and medium enterprises within the country. With that, here's a look at more corporate news in brief.
An interactive session aimed at facilitating dialogue and providing insights into the business landscape of the Maldives was recently held at the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. The session, hosted by the Sri Lanka Maldives Business Council with the High Commissioner Designate to the Maldives, Ranga Gunawardena, provided attendees with the opportunity to interact directly and address concerns, aiding Sri Lankan companies to obtain insightful information relating to conducting business in the Maldives. Additionally, the High Commissioner Designate of Sri Lanka to the Maldives shared information on opportunities for collaboration in several industry sectors. In the meantime, Commercial Bank announced a collaboration with the International Finance Corporation to build a supply chain financing strategy that will enable the bank to lend more to small and medium enterprises and establish itself as a leading SCF bank in Sri Lanka. SMEs comprise more than 75% of enterprises in the country and account for 45% of employment and 52% of the country's GDP. As such, the latest partnership with IFC will facilitate lending to these enterprises. IFC has identified Commercial Bank as a strategic banking institution to take the position as a leading SCF bank, given its prominent presence in corporate and business banking. In other corporate news, HMB announced the appointment of a new director to the company. Accordingly, Sivakrishna Raja Renganathan was appointed as the independent director of the company with effect from the 2nd of April this year. In its corporate disclosure, the bank stated that Renganathan does not hold any shares and capital of the company.
And that's it from here tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time. I'm Indivari Amwatha.
I'm Mahesh Johnny. Have a good night.